Messianic Jews, aka Jews for Jesus, are not Jewish.
That's wrong. Actually, some of them are.
Understand, I don't say that to be gatekeepy, although, mind you, Judaism is a closed...
But you are. And actually, Judaism is not a closed religion. In fact, the Samaritans in Israel are far more closed than that of Judaism today.
There isn't a single Jewish denomination that recognizes Messianic Jews as Jewish, to the point where even on myjewishlearning.com's page on Messianic Jews, they have Jews in air quotations. Messianic Judaism has an explicit aim of proselytizing to other Jews and getting them to accept Jesus as the Messiah. It is a supersessionist group. Jews do not proselytize.
So you seem to be lumping in all Messianics with Jews for Jesus groups. There are numerous different types of Messianic. You have some Messianics that keep halakha. You have some that don't. Like in Judaism, you know that there are tons of different types of minhagim. Some keep to more midrashim, some don't. So some are more Sephardic in practice and prayer, and others are not. In the same way, Messianic Judaism is identically the same. It is true, though, that the Jewish authorities, particularly in Israel and pretty much anywhere in the United States, don't consider Messianic Jews to be authentic Judaism. But that's really no different than you asking an Orthodox if they consider Reforming normies to be practicing Judaism. If they're not scared to just say it out loud with their whole chest, they're going to say, no, they're not practicing Judaism. Now, if you were to say, but are they Jewish? They're going to say, if they have a Jewish mother or they converted and then maybe when apostate, then yeah, technically they're still Jewish. But for some reason, people aren't holding that same energy when they're talking about a Messianic who was born to a Jewish mother. So Messianics don't really care if you don't think that they're Jewish or not, because if they have a Jewish mother, according to halakha, they're Jewish. You know what's really funny is you say that it's a supersessionist group because there are some Jews that believe that Jesus is the Messiah and they just so happen to identify themselves as Messianic Jews. Therefore, they must be supersessionists is wild to me because you're essentially taking away their heritage and saying just because you believe in Jesus, it means that you're no longer Jewish. Even though, again, according to halakha, you may be a men, but you are still Jewish. It doesn't matter if you worship a pen or pencil. You are still Jewish. That's in the literature. So if we're going to go by source material. So the idea that Jews don't proselytize today is true. However, they kind of do with like the Kiruv movement in that they're going to come in and pull those who had been in the church out of the church. But my question is, do they have a sign on their forehead that says, I'm actually ethnically Jewish, pull me out of the church? No. Via some sort of proselytization, some sort of counter-missionary tactics, they get in there and they cause doubt. And in doing that, they're actually proselytizing more Christians to the Jewish movement than anything. Not to mention, historically, Jews did proselytize. It's so weird to me when someone whom proclaims Judaism doesn't know the source material, doesn't know that you're Jewish no matter what, doesn't know that Kabbalah teaches you have a Jewish soul, doesn't know all of these things, but somehow is so scared that if they were to actually accept the idea that one, you could be Jewish and believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that two, that now means that you're no longer Jewish and you're going to lose your Jewish soul or something even more nefarious. If you want to continue to practice Orthodox Judaism, but you also just so happen to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that's okay. It works. I know many of them. Sure, no one's dragging you to a church. You can still continue to go to an Orthodox shul.
Jews are so bad about this that even Christian leaders have criticized them for proselytizing to Jews and misrepresenting themselves as Jews.
It's really weird to me that now you're going to appeal to Christianity and what Christianity believes or knows about Judaism, which it seems to me that you don't think that they know very much, except for this part right here. And the only reason that you're saying that is because it's like a repeating of what you already said. So you really don't need to appeal to them because essentially you're just appealing back to yourself. So I'll engage. The issue that you're speaking of is like when pastors are saying, hey, don't pretend to be Jewish. Don't go and buy a kippah and put on a yarmulke and walk around and pretend like you're like Jewish just to convert a Jew. That's dishonest. That's not something that we Christians are supposed to do. That's what the pastors are saying. They're not saying, hey, you actual Jew who happens to have a Jewish mother, who happens to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. Don't tell nobody about that. That's not happening, just so you know.
A lot of people who don't really understand what Messianic Judaism is just assume, like, oh, okay, these are like people who were born Jewish but converted to Christianity, and that's not true. The majority of people who participate in Messianic Judaism were not born Jewish. And in fact, if you...
So, like, breaking news, the God-fearers, aka people who were Gentile that chose to attach themselves to more of a Jewish lifestyle in practice, are not like a new phenomenon. Like, this is documented in history. They're called God-fearers, right? And the New Testament discusses this. Second Temple period literature discusses this. So this is not like a new phenomenon. But the fact that it's threatening to people that Jews, most of them in and of themselves were the leaders, the Jews who had a Jewish mother, were the leaders of these communities, that then they go on and they raise up communities for then another person to come in, because, you know, humans don't live very long. So there has to be another generation of people. And if for some reason you're going to say only people with a Jewish mother can be a leader, even though I'm passing on the authority to someone who is holding down the fort, i.e. they're holding down the principles that we hold, is weird, because the idea isn't that you have to be in alignment with like blood quantities. This is not what Judaism in and of itself has never been about, blood quantities. And you know, what's funny is I hear so many people talk about how you can't talk about blood quantities and Jews because that is anti-Semitism. Okay, so why are y'all doing it to us? I don't get this. The fact of the matter is very clear. There are Jews and non-Jews that align themselves with the Messianic Judaism lifestyle, right? And if at some point that there are more non-Jews that are interested in this Messianic lifestyle than there are ethnic Jews who were born of a Jewish mother, then that totem pole has to be passed on to the next generation. And so again, this is not a problem. You call it smicha. If you don't have a problem with smicha today because there is no true smicha, then you shouldn't have a problem with Messianic smicha today either.
That is a huge problem. Our culture and customs are not for Christians to appropriate. They have already stolen so much from us and caused untold harm to Jews throughout history. Even with the term Messianic Jew, a lot of the Jews that they proselytize to, they don't immediately realize that like they're just talking to Christians, that they're just learning about Christianity. And it's really, really frustrating.
This whole left-wing mentality of like, hey, that's cultural appropriation and that's what we're going to scream whenever it's really just someone paying homage, i.e. that they now believe in your God and they want to pay homage and, you know, like attach themselves to the faith found within the belief of your God. This is weird. This is so weird. This is the ultimate epitome of I'm better than you, be a second-class citizen. And the reason why I say this is because you're essentially pushing away people that want to be attached to some sort of Messianic Jewish lifestyle. And you're saying you're not good enough. In fact, in this very video, you say, we don't want you. So what do you expect? People are going to attach themselves to Hashem. That's what they want. They don't care whether you give them permission to do that or not. So if you're going to say that someone, i.e. as a Christian, is stealing your identity, I would like you to hold yourself to the same standard and never copy another culture at all, ever, not even for a split second. But the problem is, Judaism is a religion because there are Jews that have converted in. So the very fact that Ruth, whom the bloodline of the Messiah will come, right, was a convert, should be screaming that this is not only ethnic and you don't get to stand on that ladder and scream that it's ethnic while you simultaneously also tell people who are ethnically Jews, as in they have a Jewish mother, they're not real Jews.
They fetishize us. They treat us like they're weird little exotic pets. And they kill us. They drive us out of their communities. They steal our artifacts. They contribute to our oppression.
If you're talking about scholars preserving the... If you're talking about scholars preserving things from... Are you going to blame that on the Christian? Fine, whatever. We'll be the... This just sounds like anti-Goyism. Like, we'll just be the brunt of, like, your vitriol. That's fine. And then you go on to like be in this victim mentality while simultaneously saying,
we don't want you.
You may not actually want Christians, but most Jews in Orthodoxy want their money, i.e. the support. So remember not to use us like a money cash machine. And Christians, stop fetishizing Jews, okay? Until next time, shalom.